everybody. Welcome to Texas EMS, and this is our afternoon version of Facebook Live. Happy almost Thanksgiving. So this afternoon, I'm with Dave McGowan and Nick Stewart. Dave is with ACETECH, and Nick is with Cypress Creek EMS right here in Texas. And so today we're going to talk about safety. Big topic on everybody's mind, and we want to talk about what ACETECH is doing, and then Cypress Creek is actually using the system, and Nick has used both ACETECH system and some similar systems in the past, all about driver safety. So first of all, Dave, why don't you start out and tell me your background in safety, and then also what ACETECH is doing around that.
Well, thank you, Laura. Yeah, I'm one of the EMS dinosaurs, decades in EMS. And so my background in starting up in safety actually was running a service that had considerable crashes, and it included a fatality. We therefore had to find a system that we could provide our drivers some feedback, so they were getting out of that high force driving to a low force driving. So I have considerable experience with that. But that's how I got into ambulance safety, because I was looking at these statistics, and I'm realizing, looking at these statistics, the number one thing that's going to kill a paramedic or EMT is a vehicle crash. Critical injuries are the same. So we have a real big problem with crashes. So in order to combat those crashes, what we need to do is we need to be able to provide feedback to the driver to let them know, hey, you're kind of getting to the edge of an envelope, okay, that we don't want the vehicle in speed, G-forces, making sure that we have compliance with seat belts. So the ACETECH system really has a proactive real-time feedback system. It provides an audible feedback to the driver. It says, hey, you may want to slow down on this corner right now, you know, you're putting a little bit too many G-forces on. And oh, by the way, you forgot to put your seatbelt on. So, and again too, and then we also do it by speed. We have dynamic speed. So, you know, if you go a certain miles an hour over the speed limit, the driver gets warned. The interesting thing about it is on the back end in our user interface or cloud interface is that we're able to score drivers. So the drivers can see how well they're doing. So I mean, it's a very good tool. There's a lot of competition with teams. You know, crew member says, hey, next month I bet I can beat you. So because of that, what we're doing is we're seeing more low force driving, and in services that use a proactive driver feedback system are recognizing a considerable reduction in preventable crashes. So Nick has had a chance to use it, a system like that. And so Nick, why don't you tell me, what were some of your experiences when you started using the proactive driver feedback system?
Well, so you actually had several fold. You had, as an FTO, I had a lot of new hires that maybe are not used to driving a vehicle of this size or weight. And so they're used to zipping in and out of traffic with a smaller car. And with a bus, you really can't do that. And not only that, you have maybe our more seasoned drivers that are a little more aggressive in traffic than they should be. It just kind of gives them a reminder, hey, you know, let's kind of take it down.
So using this system, kind of pre-system and now, you know, using it in your experience, what's some of the feedback did you get from maybe some of your colleagues and also patients?
Right, so it gives you a measure, okay? As you mentioned, there's a point system. So it's not just subjective versus objective. You can say, look, okay, these are parameters that we've set, and this is a G-force that we don't want to exceed, and that keeps it more comfortable for the person in the back and certainly more safe, and for the patient as well, because you're not getting your job done if you're bouncing up and down and sliding back and forth across the bench. It really is not efficacious at all.
And so when you first got introduced to a system, and of course I've heard all the feedback where the big concern was Big Brother watching. What are they going to do with that? How did the service that you work for, how did they approach that? So kind of to ease those fears.
Sure. So we all hear the Big Brother thing, you know, oh, this is just the next thing. This is not something that they were out to get us on at all. As a matter of fact, I don't think I can think of one instance that someone was fired for it. Now, were some situations pointed out where, hey, we need to be looking at even, and it's not even specific drivers, but specific intersections or certain curves in certain areas where there's more likelihood or issues arising across a broad spectrum. It wasn't any one specific person. However, in those instances where you are having someone that is having a repeated issue, it comes back to where you can retrain that person and get them within spec rather than, oh, let's go get that guy because we could pull his driving record and can him. That's just simply not how it works.
Mm-hmm. You know, Laura, there's something else I think too really important to point out with a system like this, because it's always recording what's going on with the vehicle. So we know the speed limit, we know the speed limit on the roadway, we know if the lights and sirens, turn signals and brakes are on, and there's many times, unfortunately, that ambulances do get in crashes. Okay, and when that gets to a point where it's litigation, it's kind of a he said, she said. And they see the name on the side of the ambulance and they're thinking, oh, big dollars. So, you know, they may just go out and say the facts are a little bit hazy, you know. And so the nice thing about it is a system like this is that you can go back and replay it. And I don't know if you've had experience with this at all, but you can go back and replay it and see exactly what happened. And my experience has been 9 times out of 10, you exonerate the driver. The driver was not at fault.
Yeah, I mean, and I think something that's interesting, like what you guys said, all the studies have shown the aggressive driving that some people are so used to, it doesn't actually really get you there much faster. I mean, even when I look at my Waze and everything, and even if I'm driving a little more aggressive, I'm like, wow, I shaved a whole 45 seconds off of that. It doesn't really do anything. And I'd be curious, Nick, from you and Dave, from what you've seen, do you find that it also affects the way you drive outside of EMS? I mean, because I think that when you see the effect it has and the positive effect it has, it might make you a little more cautious. Even when I got in a wreck a long time ago, and if somebody's tailing me or whatever, I'm just never in a hurry. You go right ahead. You know, if you want to have some road rage, you road rage on your own. I'm going to get out of your way. I mean, I think all of that data, to your point, it's not just on your gut. Now there's real information that tells you, okay, maybe there's a better way. And we've all got families, friends, folks we want to go home to. And from what medics and firefighters do every day, you're putting your lives on the line all the time. So what ACETECH is doing and what Frazer's doing from a safety standpoint, we want to make sure you can do your job and make it easy for you to make those decisions. And having that data, that's got to make it easier for you. And like you said, to train your folks so that they're not just saying, oh, well, you just don't know what I'm dealing with. You don't know what I've got to do out there. We do know what you have to do out there, and we're making it easier to make better decisions.
Absolutely right. And, you know, the public and the patients, that we transport and care for, their expectation is a safe ride. That is their expectation. So for those of us that are in EMS, and then we're in leadership, and we're in great organizations like Cypress Creek, you think that safety is number one, and they understand how important it is that everybody gets home safe. And that's really priority number one. And Nick,
it is rule number one is everybody goes home at the shift.
Exactly. And our system really helps nurture that and drive that point home.
Well, I have a 17-year-old, so I can tell you when he started driving, I was about every safety feature known to mankind. So, well, do you guys want to take some questions?
We'll take some questions.
All right, let's see what we've got here. Oh, you're giving me them all at once. Okay. All right, so this is a great question about data. We've talked about this, and we got this question this morning. Is the cloud data stored locally at a company level or through a third party?
It's stored in the cloud, secure information in the cloud.
And then you said this is through AWS, through Amazon Web Services. And I mean, heck, I don't think it can get much more secure than that. So this is not being secured at my house, like in the basement or something like that. All right, great question. All right, good question. How is this better than road safety?
Well, another very good question. I spent 5 years with road safety, and I actually used it in a service that I directed. And the system with ACETECH is that it's much more robust, and it interfaces with all our other systems that we have. You know, with our ECU and with our Eco Run and our asset tracking. So it's really a great program. Okay, that enhances the rest of our system. But yeah, it goes the next mile, okay, because it's so robust. People have said, like, you know, it's the difference between a Cessna 150 and an F-16.
I'm not really a plane person, but I know that means something to a lot of the little Cessna. Okay, those are little small personal planes, and the F-16, those are the big fighter jets. Okay, never ridden on either of those, but all right. Can I tap into the internet from the AVI to give my other devices internet?
No, you cannot.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. Oops. And then there was a question. Whoops, I just skipped that one. And I didn't mean my reading glasses. All right, how much is this going to cost me? This is the $1 million question. All right, we're on The Price is Right here. There's $1 is one answer, right, without going over. How much does it cost?
I think the biggest question to that is how much it's going to save your service. Okay. You know, preventable crashes are extremely expensive to an organization. Insurance doesn't cover everything. But typically, you know, we see a huge reduction in preventable crashes and the costs that are associated with that. So it pays for itself. You know, I know the price of the road safety, and I know the price of ours, and you know, we can say it's a little less than half.
Okay. All right, and I know.
I can actually add to that as well.
Okay, hang on. There you go.
So just to reiterate what he said, we saw a dramatic reduction in accidents, not only in response but also in transport. And there's a significant dollar amount in an ambulance, correct? And not only that, your people are inside, and you really can't put a number on those. And just the few accidents that I can think of that paramedics have been involved in, even if it's just a back injury, you're talking about months and life-changing injuries, and you really can't put a dollar sign on that.
Absolutely. Great answer.
Yeah, I mean, and look at the technologies and everything that's changed over the years, and when we've got the power load systems there and what they've done. I mean, those are not inexpensive stretchers and inexpensive loading systems, but as you said, for one back injury there, what a difference it's made. And you know, go ask a medic today to go work on a patient without gloves on. Right, they would look at you like you were out of your mind, right? And that's something so simple that just putting gloves on your hand. But back in the day, that's not the way you did it. And back in the day, you didn't wear your seatbelt. Seatbelts were for those. Nobody wore seatbelts, but we do things differently now, and we're bringing up a generation of medics that understand that, and they want it all. We need the technology, we need the data, and we want to do what's safest and best for the patients. I've seen the way, you know, ambulances drive, so I think that if we're changing that culture and we're changing how people drive and we've got the data to back it up, that's a great thing. That's a great thing for everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We have another question. Is there a wireless touchscreen option?
No, there is not.
So so this is just a voice, the great and powerful Oz, or she Oz. And is it a calming voice? This is not somebody's like, stop, slow down, right? Because we don't want him to do that. So what happens?
Right, so
what does happen? You said
there
that
are
can
tones,
tell you.
there are tones, okay?
It can be British, can be, who's talking to you?
So there'll be we also have the audible tones that will work in conjunction with the speed and the G-forces. So it's making some tones to alert the driver that, hey, you're getting to a parameter that we don't want you to exceed. If you continue to exceed, then what happens is they get basically a violation, and that violation goes on to their record. And then we can combine that also with our AVA, where they'll hear the voice alert.
And then all of this is tying into the onboard diagnostics with the particular vehicles. Is that correct?
Right, and it's real time. It's real time. It's a 1/10 of a second upload, so you can see what's happening in real time. And then, if you do have, let's just say, for example, that you might have somebody that's being remediated for poor driving, and you're telling them and say, hey, look, if you don't wear your seatbelt again, because we will know, we can set up an alerts. If they don't wear their seatbelt, it can go right to somebody like a field training officer or supervisor and go all the way up to a director. So we can send out immediate text and email alerts.
All right. Well, what have you seen, Nick? I mean, have you seen a pretty immediate impact of it for your folks? I mean, like you said, it's been a positive outcome.
Sure. And once again, it isn't immediately dinging your record. He mentioned that it's dinging your record. It doesn't immediately ding your record. It kind of gives you a, hey, get back on track, and hey, come to Jesus a little louder, and then it's giving you a violation. It's cut down on even something so simple as backing accidents, because it's got a button in the back, and garage doors aren't any cheaper than ambulances, believe it or not. So you do have an immediate response to people, because people don't just ignore it. There are those accidents. There are those times where you have to stop short, and you're going to get alerted on it. But it's also an overtime type of issue. Like the way ours works is you have to maintain a safe level with so many queues within so many miles, and it's not difficult. So that time that somebody pulls out in front of you and you stop short and it alerts you, well, sorry about that. The good thing is it's got video to go along with it in the systems that we have. And so you could go back and you go, well, look, check the tape. There's nothing that I could have done. The light was short. We stopped rather than blowing the red light. Sorry. So yeah, we did get an immediate response. We did get a significant amount of initial violations, just as people got used to feeling it out and getting the system calibrated to our ambulances. And then it's been pretty significant and smooth sailing since then.
Just another thing to point out too is that the program that we develop for our customers, we are not looking for perfect driving. We're not looking for the perfect driving, but here's the benchmark that we are looking for. 8 miles between violations. If you can maintain 8 miles between violations, we have the research to show that you can reduce preventable crashes by up to about 90%. So it's all there. So again, we're not looking for those perfect driving. It's great if it does happen, but I bring a really important point. When you do have to hit those brakes because that ball went out in the roadway and there might be a child there, you do it. You take that action that you need to take. Okay. Therefore, you don't want them to be afraid, oh my gosh, I can't be a perfect driver anymore. No, we're just, again, 8 miles between violations, and that's what we're looking for.
Well, and I think the other thing, as I was explaining to my son, the longer you go without an accident, the longer you tend to go, because you come across more situations. Okay, well, I've come across the guy who was texting and driving, and I handled that situation. Okay, now I'm coming across the person who's texting and drinking and driving. And the more situations you're able to handle and avert an accident, the more you're going to be able to handle. So you get better and better at those situations. And the more data you gather, the more you're going to be able to help the end user, and the more services that use it, the more trends you're going to be able to understand as well.
Right. And the opposite is true, what you just said. Frequency breeds severity. So if you continue to have bad drivers, okay, that are continuing to have bad habits, sooner or later, okay, they may have a minor crash, but if it's not corrected, they can have a more severe crash, and that can keep going on.
Well, great. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, and thanks everybody out there in Facebook land. Happy holidays, and enjoy the turkey and dressing.